Alright, so a few of you guys have been begging me to upload gameplay footage of Monster Hunter World so you can see what it's like. So here it is. I'm loaded in. I am at the start of the end game, so I have gear, but it's not necessarily top of the line. There's a lot to be improved upon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the whole gameplay loop to see what's going on. So pretty much a lot of the end game is going to be crafting gear to take down bigger and better monsters, much like you'd see in any looter shooter. So what we're going to do here is take you through the whole gameplay footage. I'm going to go up and see what better gear I could theoretically craft. So you'd go up here to the workshop, that's your crafting center. All of your upgrades are done through crafting. The trees are ludicrously expansive, so we won't go into all of that. Normally, I would be looking for armor. Is usually what I'm looking for, so I would go in here to Forge Equipment, select armor, and it gives me a whole listing of sets that I can choose from. Whatever you might want, anything from a giant cat head to a samurai armor set, which actually looks pretty cool. So, for purposes of demonstration, eventually I would like to get this set. If I wanted it, I would come and select wishlist add delete and add it to my wish list. You can see the wishlist add delete down at the bottom. It's option Y on my screen because I'm a controller noob. I'm not going to add that to my wish list because I'm not actively chasing this at the right at this moment for the purposes of this demo. But you would select it, it would come in here, add to your wish list like this has, and that will track it to see when you've accumulated all of the necessary components so you can go ahead and craft it. Once you've figured out what you're going for, come back down to the trade yard and you can select a quest that will target whatever monster drops whatever you're after. Lots of internet searching to figure out what drops what you're after. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not, in the case of some of the more minor components. Skip the dialogue, that doesn't matter. And you can either register bounties, which are ongoing quests that you can complete for research points displayed up in the top right center of the screen. I have them all filled out, and it'll track them across multiple expeditions or investigations or assigned quests. We'll go into that in a minute. In this case, for gameplay footage, I'm going to try and pick something out that's pretty accessible to all of my available weapon sets. I am not going to be demonstrating all of them. We're going to go ahead and hunt the bear off, which is a big, ugly motherfucker. So you select it. It displays a little checkbox to show you that that's the one you selected. You can select as many or as few as you want. I try and keep it down so it's targeted right now. I cleared all of mine out. They are delineated between the orange stars, which are high rank, and the blue stars, which are low rank. High rank is, of course, more difficult, but also rewards better gear. Again, don't need to go into that. This is all sortable. I can sort by any of these things if I wanted to, but that'll do to be going on with. So right now I have a bow equipped. I'm going to come over here to my item box. You can manage your consumable items. You can craft things, sell stuff, which I rarely do. You can change your equipment. You can change the color of your gear, whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and select a different set. This screen shows you all the gear you have equipped and allows you to change out any of these items from your equipment box. Right now I have 4 pages. As far as I can tell, this grows as you gain equipment. I have not yet found if there's a cap. And you could go through and select individually, but conveniently this game has loadouts. I have 6 saved. As far as I can tell, you can have up to 112, maybe more. You can save whatever you want. It saves all of your gear that you can see on the left hand side. And here, this shows you what is in any given loadout. All of these things are different. They have different stat bonuses, etc. We're going to go ahead and use the Gunlance because it's fun. So once you use that, it changes all your gear out. You can see that on the left-hand side. You also have a stats page on the right-hand side that has a bunch of numbers and tells you all about what's going on with this build, whatever you have set up for it, and gives you whatever you want to do. You can move these, change them, however you want to do. It's very customizable. And once you select the loadout, you can go back in and change any of the individual items if you want to change it out for a specific scenario. Loadouts also apply to your consumables. I really just have a standard loadout that I use. If you select it, it refills all your items. It's a little one-click thing because you have all these slots that would be a pain to fill out individually. So now I'm pretty much ready to go and hunt whatever it is I've selected. So you come over here to the quest board. There are a number of locations for this that you can access around the main hub. The game kicked me offline, so I could change to an online session if I wanted. So I'm going to select the investigation I just posted earlier. You can tell it where you want it to spawn you at. I am going to have it spawn me at that location. You can just post the quest as is. Sometimes you get these vouchers, which basically just double your income from the quest. I'm not going to use that because I don't need it. The other thing you can do that I'm going to do before I go do this, just to not have to worry about the time limit, there are a number of temporary stat boosts in the game that you acquire by eating meals because the game is ridiculously complex. This has its own set of conditions that, again, we won't go into. So I'm just going to select what I usually select for this. You get a cute animation of the cats cooking your meal. This is skippable, which I'm going to go ahead and do. You get your temporary buffs, whatever they are, based on what you've chosen, and then you launch the quest. Get this wonderful little tip screen and all these animations. Once you arrive, you have a set amount of time to go complete the quest. In this case, it's find the thing and kill the thing. There are a number of items, gathering points, etc. that are out in the environment. You don't have to actually spend time gathering. You can, but there are a number of other options that would allow you to avoid that. It's not necessary. Down in the bottom right, you can see me scrolling through all of my consumables to be prepared for what I'm doing next. These green things are a guidance track. They're not always there. It depends whether they're there or not, depends on how often you have essentially hunted whatever you're chasing after. In this case, I've done this a few times. Not a ton. This is not the max level. But it's pretty high, so I have to find one set of footprints, and then it tracks me. They've gone away because I'm in combat now with some low-level enemies that are scattered around the map. Now I'm out of combat, so my tracker is back. I'm going to go ahead and follow it to the thing, and that's what I'm supposed to be killing. The big, ugly, mountain-looking thing. So, sometimes it'll detect you, sometimes it will not. I'm going to go ahead and engage it in combat. Every weapon has different movesets, different abilities. And different ways it works. Every monster behaves differently, has different tells for what it's going to do, which you will learn as you go along. And I am not doing well right at the moment. Somebody just dropped it. What's up, Greg? I'm recording Discord. I'm recording footage for you guys with commentary because apparently
Ruby's not even in here.
No, Ruby wasn't here. He prevailed on me to record some Monster Hunter footage.
Oh. Somebody's on the computer while I was away. Papa Bear's angry.
It wasn't me.
No. It definitely wasn't you. Not in the same country.
So, continuing my commentary, there are a number of status effects that you can apply to any given monster. And you can break their parts, do damage to them, hurt them in any number of ways.
Because I came downstairs, my mouse is moved, my keyboard had caps lock on, and batteries are out. So I know somebody's at my computer. So I actually got quite a bit of stuff from Humble Bundle this time.
Yeah?
Yeah. Got a couple games there. This month's was worth $232.
That's not bad.
No.
I have no idea if you're actually being recorded to post this on YouTube, by the way, so, and this is going up unedited.
That's okay. I don't mind my voice on there.
So, for those of you following along at home, there are a number of mechanics that I'm not going into, but basically what the long story short of it is that you end up not necessarily beating the crap out of whatever you're fighting all the time, but you also sometimes have to use consumables and avoid attacks for a certain period of time so that you don't die. These are basically long interconnected boss fights. Right now there's both a time limit and a damage limit for the monster will run away and try to avoid you. In this case it's run off, so I have to go chase it down and beat the tar out of it again. As it smacks me in the face with its tail.
Tries turning into his bitch.
There are also stuns. The character you see running around on my screen, Mischief, that's a NPC character that you are given at the outset. Something I haven't managed to do this time around, and probably will not be able to do on this monster in this area, is mount it. Monsters also go to sleep. In this case, if you recall the small monsters that I aggroed earlier, they put a status effect on it to go to sleep. There are status effects in the game: sleep, paralyze, poison, about what you're used to, which you can take advantage of in a number of different ways. In this case, I'm actually waiting for a special ability to have cooldown, come off of cooldown, because it does extra damage to sleeping monsters. I'm also going to use the opportunity to do something else. Taking advantage of that allowed me to kill the monster, which I can then harvest for materials. This is the core gameplay loop. If you noticed, my minimap in the bottom left just went red around the edge. It's because I aggroed those small monsters. I can safely ignore them. They're not super aggressive, but you can't always do that. That requires game knowledge and a little bit of understanding of what's safe to ignore and what's not. So that's the core gameplay loop with the Gunlance. As you may have noticed, I tanked a lot of damage. This is a fairly tanky set. It's also high damage. The trade-off is that it's extremely low mobility. I'm going to wrap this one up. I'll post another video after this to keep everything separate of both the longsword and the bow gunplay so you guys can see how that works.